Hi everybody, it's Ursula here at Team Rehab-Northwest Indy, and today we have someone very special with us. I'd like to introduce you to David Montieth. Mr. Montieth holds an incredible record, and I want him to share with you what that record is. So David, you want to tell us what you're doing?
Sure, thanks Ursula. I've just recently set a new United States record for my age group in the Masters Track and Field program. And that is, we jump in 5-year age segments, so I'm in the 70 to 74-year-old group, and the record I set was 5'2" and 1/4 inches, which is, when you look back about what some of the younger people do, is fairly low compared to that. But for this 70-year-old age group, it's quite good. There's only one person in the world 9 years ago who jumped higher than that. So I have about a half an inch to go to get the world record, and that's really one of my goals.
And that is totally awesome. So when I first heard about David's story, and I knew he was going to be here in Indianapolis, I knew there was no way I could not have the opportunity to talk to him about that. And I hope that you all caught that. David, say that again. How old are you?
I just turned 71. I was 70 when I set the record, but I'm now 71.
70 years old, he sets the American record in the high jump. So just to encourage you all today, I asked David to come. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his story, ask him some questions about what it is that he does to keep himself in the condition that he's in. Because oftentimes, I think people think as a physical therapist, I'm just telling you how important it is to move. But I thought if we had someone here who had some real evidence about what that movement can do for you as we go through the aging process, which we all will do, we can kind of see what types of things it can keep us doing even as we move into our 70s. So one of the questions, David, that I want to ask you is what got you interested in even wanting to high jump?
Well, it was something that I did when I was younger. I jumped in both high school and college. I played basketball in middle school and junior high, and found that I could jump fairly well. So the coach who coached basketball also coaches track and field, so I said, I want you to try the high jump. So I did, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I did pretty well, so I stuck with it. I set a new record for actually Pike High School, which is in this local area, which stayed for about 10 years, and then I went to Wabash College, and I set that record at 6 feet 8 inches, and that held for 34 years. So
wow.
I had 8 years of jumping then, and then I got back into jumping when I was just almost 60 years old, so I've been jumping for 11 years. And I didn't even know this program existed, but when I found out about it, I said, I think I can do that. So that's how I got back into it afterwards.
And so what is this program that you mentioned?
Yeah, it's called the Masters Track and Field program. There are two affiliations. One is the USATF Track and Field, and you can find that on the internet. The other is Senior Games. Those are two associations that have programs for people over 30 in the USATF program and over 50 for the Senior Games program. But we compete in 5-year intervals. Every 5 years we go into a new age group. So all the rankings in the world and the records in the world are set within those 5-year age groups. And it's for both men and women. And we have a lot of women that compete in this as well as men. We had our first 100-year-old high jumper last year. And we usually have 2 or 3 that are in the 95 to 99 group, and quite a few in the 80s, and a lot in the 70s, and a lot more in the 60s. So it's a program you can compete with literally for the rest of your life. And that's really what keeps me in shape, wanting to break these records and to get involved with it. You don't have to set records though, as long as you're active and productive and keep moving is really the critical part. And the reason I stay with the program is because I know that I'm going to be healthier because of that, and that's what really motivates me to stay with it.
Right. So now, if I heard you correctly, it sounds like you had a lapse there was a period of time when you weren't high jumping at all, and then just got back into it in your 60s. Is that correct?
Only 38-year lapse.
38-year lapse.
For 38 years, I didn't take one single jump. From my last jump in college to my first jump in the master's program, I didn't jump at all. I always thought I could jump 6 feet every day of my life, but I'd never tried it. And what I did was like, oh my goodness.
So a lot of people probably listening to us think that, it's too late to start doing something, or they're too old to doing it. So what was the catalyst that kind of got you back to wanting to start high jumping again?
Well, when I saw what some of the records were, I really thought that I could do that, and so I kind of got back in on a bit of a lark in terms of, hey, I'm going to try that out and see how I could jump. And I really came very close to some of the big records my first year out, and so you get kind of hooked into it. And that's one of the great things about it. If you're a competitive person, you want to keep going with it. And one of the hard things to do is to keep up with your exercise program. But this is what motivates me to stay fit and healthy every day of my life. And I know that it's going to pay off big dividends as I get older and older and older.
Right.
I'll keep up with it.
So that brings me to a question of how much and what do you actually do to train?
Sure. Well, I train quite heavily. First of all, I have a personal trainer that I work with 1 day a week. And we primarily do weightlifting as the type of training that I do. But that's not all I do. I have a high jump pit in my basement, so I can jump at home, because most places won't let you jump for insurance purposes, And so I jump at home at least once a week to keep my style up. I have a weight room with a Smith machine and other kinds of things that are important for jumpers. So I'm always downstairs almost every day of the week doing weightlifting, plyometrics, which is a specialty kind of exercise for jumpers. The weightlifting, a lot of balance. I do a lot of stretching because that contributes to your range of motion in terms of being able to move your body in a way that can allow you to clear that bar and get your hind leg over the bar, and all those things that need to be done. So I do a lot of exercising. I'm a member of the rec center, so I can go down and use their weightlifting machines. I go over to high school and I can run around the track, and I do what's called interval training in terms of high intensity interval training, short bursts of speed, which is what helps train the fast twitch muscles, which are what allows you to jump. Slow twitch muscles are for long distance running, fast twitch are for explosive kinds of exercises, events like high jump or sprinting or basketball or the kinds of explosive things.
Right. So, so along with that, my next question for you would be, what types of habits do you have other than the training that you find are beneficial and that also keep you active and doing the things that you like to do?
Well, habits is really the right word. Once you build habits, that's what habits are all about. You keep doing it. And I'm always conscious of what I am doing. If I'm in a grocery store, I always run into the store. Some people look at me like, what's he doing? But why not? I don't park real close because I want a good run. When I get up in the morning, I do stretches to get my body warmed up. When I go out to the mail, I have a long driveway, and so my dog and I run out to get the newspaper in the morning and get the mail in the afternoon. I play basketball at home at least twice every day for 15 minutes with these high intensive type methods of moving and constantly moving, so I know all my joints are working well, that I've got, my jumping skills are good, and I use that. When I walk up the stairs, I always take 2 steps at a time. I mean, there's things you can always do to exercise your body, even though you're just going through daily life.
Yeah.
When I'm standing in a line, I'll do heel raises.
Right.
Or I'll stand on one leg to help my balance. To get the proprioceptive muscles correctly. So it's always doing something that is taking care of your body, and it's just a habit that I have. So when I jump, I have certain things that I need to work on, and so I can do that during the day, and people wouldn't even know that I'm doing it. When I commuted long distances, I had exercises You know, I had hand grips in the car. You know, I would do other things to keep me going, and it was a great way to, you know, be able to relax and to do something productive with your body.
Sure, and I think what you just shared there is important for people to know, that you don't have to have this set aside time per se to exercise when you're standing in a grocery line. And I do tell my patients that all the time, to practice things like that. It's a great time to do your calf raises, to balance on one leg. Try to find ways to incorporate it in your day so that you keep your strength up and that you stay moving.
Absolutely.
David, I want to ask you also, you've been competing now for a couple of years. What are one or two things you think that differentiates you from your competition, your competitors?
Well, I'm very committed to it. Some of the competitors are just there to have fun and to exercise, and that's great. That's wonderful because they're doing a great thing for their own body. But those who really are committed, you know, work out a lot like I do, and they're always reading up on the latest thing. You know, I subscribe to Peak Performance magazine, which, you know, really helps you. They do a lot of research on sports and how you can increase your sports ability. And most of us, again, have experience practicing when we were younger. And I never really had a good high jump coach. I had good track coaches, but not really high jump coaches. So I've all learned it on my own. But when you learn a certain style, it takes not only strength, but a certain style in clearing the bar, as it does for all of the track and field events, as well as running. So I think it's the combination of the experience and having done it for a while that has allowed me to jump higher than other people, as well as my daily regimen and how focused I am on doing that.
Right. Now, you know, David, I know that there are probably people who are thinking, I don't have a high jump pit in my basement, okay, and I don't have time to commit to doing these stretches or the strength training, and I don't have all this equipment and stuff at home. What types of ways would you encourage them to still just find ways to stay active, stay motivated, keep moving?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's absolutely right. You don't have to have all of this apparatus to make it work. For me, it's all about finding a way to enjoy your exercise. Now, I call it training, which is the same thing as exercise, but it's a whole different mindset when you feel like you're in training to do something else. But it needs to be fun, and you need to, you know, whether it's working out with a friend of yours or running or walking with a friend of yours, if you like to bike, if you like to swim, if you like to do those kinds of things, whether, you know, bowling, anything that requires you to move and use your muscles is really important to do. My mother, who passed away when she was 91, would go to the gym twice a week just to lift weights and be around other people who are doing those kinds of things. And she was very fit, both mentally and physically. And she enjoyed it. And it's getting excited about it to the point where you know, and you can feel it in your body, that you're much more fit than you've ever been, then you can do things that you couldn't have done otherwise, that your body feels good, and you know that it's going to pay off in the future. Right. And that, to me, is the real goal, to say, you know, I'm doing this, I'm in training for the next 30 years. You know, I hope to be here 30 years from now, and that I'll be healthy, I can travel, I can contribute to humanity. I do a lot of volunteer work for various groups. So I want to be able to do those things. I want to be able to, you know, play basketball with my grandkids. I want to do those kinds of things and be healthy and not spend time in the hospital, not have to pay high medical costs because I'm sick. You know, I want to avoid those things and have fun. And to me, you know, the golden years of getting older can be fun years because of that. And to me, that's the real motivation.
Right. And I don't know if I could have said that any better. That's awesome. I mean, it's, as I was in our earlier conversations, you know, we were just talking about how important it is. And as I said, people think that I'm a physical therapist and maybe I'm just supposed to say that. But just like you, David, I believe in that. I think that that's what keeps us, you know, moving. It keeps us healthy. It adds value to our life. And it doesn't have to be all this extensive, work or things we think we need to do. It can be the simplest things like you've just shared.
Absolutely.
So if I had to ask you another question, one of the things that oftentimes we hear people say, but I have aches or pains, and I'm guessing that in your training and in the time you spend doing what you do, you probably have had some aches and pains.
Yeah.
So if you do you have aches and pains, and how do you manage those?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I certainly do have aches and pains. In fact, one of the things that we talk about, the guys talk about when we all get together for track meets is, well, what kind of aches and pains do you have now?
Right.
I mean, they're kind of unavoidable, even though you take really good care of your body. Sometimes the aches and pains are because of the way I work out, and
Right.
that might cause some of them. But I figure, I'm preventing other kinds of major illnesses by having some minor aches and pains. But I certainly do have them. I have a really good sports massage guy that can work them out. My personal trainer is able to do that. A lot of them just go away naturally if you keep moving.
Right.
If you just kind of freeze up and don't do anything, you're just going to get worse and they're never going to go away. So it's important to have that ongoing training and ongoing exercising to loosen your body back up. But yeah, I've had some arthritis, I've had sciatica, I've had some hip problems that I couldn't really figure out what it was. I do go to a doctor only if it's something that I don't think is muscular, or if it's been existing for 2 or 3 weeks and I have a track meet coming up and I want to make sure that I'm healthy for it.
Right.
So I don't hesitate to have that. I get physical exams to make sure everything's going well in my body. I certainly eat right, and that's been a very important part of this whole program, is eating and good nutrition.
Right, very good. Now, I know that there are some other things you want to achieve in your life, and what's your ultimate goal? What are you looking for now as you continue this process of high jumping?
Well, my initial goal is to continue to be ranked #1 in the world in my age groups as I go through the age groups, and to set a new world record in every age group that I go into. But that's kind of a superficial goal. My real goal in doing all of this is to be able to enjoy my older years. To me, that's the best achievement that you can have. If you can give yourself good health, feel good about your body, be able to do all the kinds of things that you want to do, whether it's traveling or playing with the grandkids or all of those things. I don't want to be walking around hunchback and can't walk well, or if I want to go travel someplace.
Right.
So that's really the long-term goal of this whole program.
Right.
And again, you don't have to do it in track and field, but you have to do it. You have to do it if you really want that kind of, the way your body functions during your golden years. And it's so much more important because, when you look at performance over time, it's really a bell curve. As you're younger, you're getting better every year, but as you get older, you get a little worse every year, but you can make it a lot better. And science has shown this. There's been a lot of study of older people exercising, and it's clearly been shown that if you continue to move well and do things, even if it's a half hour a day in terms of the various movement things, that's so critical, and that's really what makes it work well.
Right. And that's really good to hear coming from you and not just from me.
Yeah.
So if I had to ask you one final question, or just something you could share with the people that are watching this video, I think I would want to know what motto or phrase or words do you live by, and what could you share with our audience that would just keep them encouraged, or maybe help them become motivated to live a more active life?
Sure. Well, one of my favorite quotes that I'm a really big believer of: you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing.
Right.
And that's exactly what happens if you stop playing a game, whether it's high jumping or walking or running or bowling or whatever your activity may be. It's a lose it or use it, or use it or lose it, and you've got to stay active and mobile, and that pays huge rewards as you get older. And the last thing you want to do It'd be nice if you live a long time, but if you're miserable for the next 30 years
So true.
and stooped over in a wheelchair,
Right.
that's no fun to me.
Right.
So I want to be active and do all the things that I love doing, and this is my hope for myself. You know, you can't predict how long you're going to live or what's going to happen to you, but
Right.
this is a way, and science has shown that this is a way to stay healthy, to feel good about the way you are, and to be able to do the kinds of things that you really love to do.
Right. Well, David, I have really, it's just been a pleasure for me to meet you. When I heard your story, that you had set this record in the high jump at your age, again, 70 years old when the record was set, 71 now, hopes to continue to do that and set the world record, which he's just a half an inch or so from. We're looking forward to seeing that, but I really appreciate you being here with us today at Team Rehab Northwest Indy, sharing your story, sharing and talking about the things that keep you healthy and active. And for those of you, I hope that you've been encouraged by this and that you realize that health, mobility, it can happen at any age. You don't have to wait. Do what you need to do now, but then as we go through the aging process, recognize that to stay healthy, to stay moving, you've got to do something about it. So David, again, I appreciate you being here with us today. And for those of you that want to see David's high jump record, we're going to have a link here at the end of this that will show you. And we appreciate you having the time or spending the time with us to hear David's interview and to hear of his accomplishments. So thanks again, and we appreciate you.